Hey, hi. Looks like we're live everywhere. Okay, good. Sorry I'm running so late today. I came into my Dharma room this morning and little Miss Minerva had taken my mala and other things, my candles and other things, and she had put them all over the room and she had hidden my mala. Yes, she did. Do you want to come say hi? She's here having a little purr and cuddle. Let's see if she'll come say hello. Would you like to come say a quick hello? Look, the mala thief. So we are now going to get started. Today we're with Tara number 7, the invincible blue-black Tara she is Tara of invincible courage, with fierce expression and her hair standing straight on end. Praise her, the one who chants tre and he, defeating the snares and schemes of enemies with right leg folded and left leg outstretched, shining in splendor amidst a fierce blazing fire. The syllables, tre and pe, are emphatic and wrathful. They cause immediate resolution to whatever they're directed at. Should any external negative force threaten us, she completely dissolves any unwholesome plans. Her right leg symbolizes wisdom and her left leg symbolizes compassion. They press down on samsara, the state of continually having to take rebirth under the control of karma and defilements. The blazing fire is the wisdom knowledge emanating from her body. So the wrathful forms of Tara are amazing, actually. They are really potent antidotes to the problems that face us in our world. And one of the things that faces us, particularly when we're coping with trauma, difficulties, pain from past experiences, pain from current circumstances. One of the things that hurts us the most when we've experienced those things is it's not that the initial wounding is the worst wounding. It's almost as if a pebble, when you have that initial wounding, a pebble is dropped into a pool of water, and then the ripples become bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And so when we experience a difficult time, a trauma, a loss, something painful, that initial pebble dropped into the pond, is difficult, it's disruptive, but it is the ripples later that make it worse and worse and worse and make it difficult for us to move beyond whatever has compromised us, harmed us, created difficulty in our lives. So keep that in mind as we are in always our process of healing. Whatever healing we need to do, we're in that process every day in whatever way. And sometimes it's the reverberation of the trauma that hurts us more than the actual trauma itself. I would like to encourage you to think about how you might work with Tara, chanting, performing ritual, making offerings, to eliminate those ripples. Because where do those ripples come from? Those ripples come from our own minds. Whatever happened outside of us is beyond our control. There's nothing we can do. But what happens within us afterward, that part is really sometimes the most difficult. So we have to get to the point where the reverberations that are coming from that trauma are not owning us. And I struggle with this, and I know many of you struggle with this. I don't think there's anybody who chants with me who doesn't have their own struggles that they are coping with. So let's just keep that in mind today, that just for today, we're going to decide that the reverberations are not going to be allowed to disrupt us. We're just going to try to hold that. This reverberation does not own me. And let's see what our divination is from our cards today, from the Dharma cards. Excited to be using this deck. I ordered it from a website that has out of print or classic books. All right, our card today is truth. Those who recite words of great teaching with no experience of really living are like people who count the cows of others and have never tasted butter. Those who practice what they understand and pay attention to what they do, their actions grow in accord with existence, and their words are true. And let's see, what's the further explanation? That's really a powerful card. I actually just for the last couple of days have been having in the Goddess Without Borders group on Facebook this long conversation about what's the difference between what we see in popular contemporary images of shamans, which are kind of like pornified and definitely designed for a certain fantasy look, versus the reality of shamans. And it was a very interesting conversation. Many of you contributed. Thank you so much for your thoughts and your contributions to that conversation. I got a lot out of it. But it's like, if you've not lived it, and this is, who is this? This looks like, it's not though. It looks like Prajnaparamita, but it's not. It's a four-armed Buddha with a mala and an utpala flower, hands in equipoise. It's not a medicine Buddha. It's just, no attacking my feet. No. She loves feet. Okay. Truth is not a logical conclusion, nor is it an idea. So don't waste your time trying to grasp at esoteric principles or philosophies that are lodged in the mind. Truth exists without any particular reason. It simply is. Truth shows itself in the clear sense of being that you know in your heart, and you trust it because it frees you from fear. You'll never find truth in the thoughts of others, nor will you find it in any scripture. Holy books are like maps. They can show you the way, but you have to do the walking. It is easy to believe what others say, but believing only takes you part of the way. You must be sure you want to go. Your own actions are your clearest guide. Watch what you do and how you respond. Listen to what you say. Truth is unavoidable if your searching is sincere. For like existence itself, truth simply is. The truth that we really carry comes from our own experience. It doesn't come from anywhere else. People can tell. I mean, if I think about the number of people in my life who tried to give me advice, or the number of times I read things and studied things and tried my best to follow those procedures and processes, when I really think about it, until I had the visceral experience in this body of knowing what I was doing, I couldn't have seen the truth. I could not have seen it. It's almost like, sometimes someone will say something and I understand it here, but I don't understand it here until I've lived it. Does anybody else have that experience of finding like, oh, it's not really true until it's true here? Learning this, learning to follow this way of being is kind of difficult because we're expected in our world to succumb to all kinds of authority from others, and for others to sort of, tell us what they think truth is. But really, until we know what truth is for ourselves, we don't know what it is. We don't know. We might believe, we might trust somebody else's word for themselves, but until we've experienced it for ourselves, we don't trust. A lot of my views in this life used to be formed based on ideology. That is to say, what others thought I should be thinking, or what ideologies were popular, or what other people wanted me to believe. But until I experienced things for myself, I really couldn't believe. And in some cases, my direct experience affirmed what others have told me. And in other cases, my direct experience defies what others have told me. And I know right now it's really hard because we live in a world where any kind of consensus truth has been pretty much shown to be impossible, other than that, like the sky is blue. But there's not a lot of consensus truth in our world right now. And I think a lot of us are the poorer for it because we feel sometimes nervous about being in our own truth. So today, we're going to confront two things. We're going to confront past traumas, and this actually goes together really well. We're going to confront past traumas and the grip that they have on us, and we're going to release that grip. And second, we're going to be in our truth. And I think that, one of the things to keep in mind here is that when you are confronting the reverberation of a past trauma, you have to get to the point where you can say to yourself, that's not the truth right now. What's past is past. I cannot change it. I cannot fix it. I cannot go back to do it over. I can't undo it. But where I am right now, that is the truth. And I'm going to live in the truth of this very moment. And then I'm going to move forward from here. And until it's almost like, think of your traumas of the past as being a big, like, bleeding wound. And until you sort of put pressure on that wound and stop the bleeding, you're not going to be able to stitch it up or heal it. So let's try today to put pressure on the wound, stop the bleeding, and then move forward from here in the truth of what we know based on our experience. And you know what? If that means that you're like, I don't, like, pick whatever. Like, if you're like, nope, I've had bad experiences with that, I'm not going down that path. Or if it means that you say, no matter how popular this thing is, I just don't like it. It's okay. You don't have to. All you have to do is report to yourself and report to your own knowing of what is true for you. And in this way, you can live a coherent life. It may not be easy. It may not be popular. It may not be always what everybody else wants to hear, but it's coherent to you. And your inner coherence is the stopping point of that bleeding wound. So that's our short bit for today, if that's what you were here for. And thank you for coming. And if you want to stick around for Guan Yin practice, it starts now with 3 prostrations before the shrine. And Minerva's drinking a little water. There you go. And I hope she doesn't attack me too much during this broadcast. let's take refuge. Namo Guru Be. I take refuge in the inner teacher. Namo Buddhaye. I take refuge in the great mother of compassion. Namo Dharmaye. I take refuge in the wisdom of the ages. Namo Sanghaye. I take refuge in the community of practitioners. And let's set our intention, a person, place, situation, or circumstance that would benefit from today's practice. And let's recite the Four Immeasurables. May I be a source of loving kindness in this world and all worlds, bringing a generous heart to all my thoughts and doings. May I be a vehicle of compassion in this world and all worlds, ever mindful and aware of the tremendous suffering of others. May I be a brimming vessel of joy in this world and all worlds, delighting in the happiness of others as their suffering is alleviated. May I be a balance point of equanimity in this world and all worlds, seeing all as equals and all as deserving of goodness. And let's make our offerings. I light this candle as a symbol of the enlightening Dharma way. May it shine brightly for the benefit of all beings. I light this incense as an offering for Guanxian and Tara, she who hears the cries of the world, mother of all, and she who saves. And I'll be back with water bowls tomorrow, but today they're already full from earlier. Reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind, and present clouds of every type of offering, actual and virtual. I confess all my destructive actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoice in the meditation of all holy and ordinary beings. Please, Guanyin and Tara, remain until the end of samsaric existence and turn the wheel of Dharma for sentient beings. I dedicate my own merits and those of others to the great enlightenment. So let's do 108 recitations now of Tara's mantra, Om Tare Tu Tare Ture Soha, and then we're going to do our Guanyin mantra after that. And we're envisioning that wrathful form of Tara coming along and stopping the bleeding of that wound, pressing down on the bleeding of that wound. Om Tare Tu Tare Ture Soha. Om Tare Tu Tare Ture Soha. Om Tare Tu Tare Ture Soha. Om Tare Ture Soha. Om Tare Tu Tare Ture Soha. Om Tare Tu Tare Ture Soha. Om Tare Tu Tare Ture Soha. Om Tare Ture Soha. Om Tare Tu Tare Ture Soha. Om Tare Tu Tare Ture Soha. Om Tare Tu Tare Ture Soha. Om 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 Tare Tutare Ture Soha. Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha. Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha. Om Tare Ture Soha. Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha. Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha. Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha. Om Tare Ture Soha. Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha. Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha. Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha. Om Tare Ture Soha. Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha. Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha. Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha. Om Tare Ture Soha. Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha. Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha. Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha. Om Tare Ture Soha. Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha. Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha. Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha. Om Tare Ture Soha. Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha. Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha. Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha. Om Tare Ture Soha. Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha. Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha. Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha. Om Tare Ture Soha. Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha. Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha. Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha. Om Tare Ture Soha. Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha. Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha. Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha. Om Tare Ture Soha. Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha. Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha. Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha. Om Tare Ture Soha. Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha. Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha. Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha. Om Tare Ture Soha. listen to these aspirational words of Yeshit Tzogyal, some of her last words as she was in her earthly form, before she dissolved into rainbow light and joined the great oneness. Wherever there is space, 5 elements pervade. Wherever the 5 elements, the homes of living beings. Wherever living beings, karma and defilements. Wherever is defilement, my compassion also. Wherever is the need of beings, there I am to help them. To the hungry I was heaps of food and all good things, and thus I brought them joy. To the cold and freezing I was fire and sun warmth, thus their joy. To the poor and needy I was wealth and riches, thus their joy. To the naked I was every kind of raiment, thus their joy. To the childless I was sons and daughters, thus their joy. To those who sought a lover, I was a loving and attractive consort, and thus their joy. To those who wanted magic powers, I gave prowess in the 8 great cities, and thus I brought them joy. To the sick, I was their remedy, and thus their joy. To the anguished, I was all their mind desired, and thus I was their joy. To those hard-pressed by the punishments of despots, I was the loving friend to lead them to the land of peace, and I was thus their joy. To those in fear of wild beasts, I was a haven, thus their joy. To those who fell into the depths, I was their drawing out, and thus their joy. To those tormented in the fires, I was a quenching stream, and thus their joy. To those in prey to any of the elements, I was their medicine, and thus their joy. For those who could not see, I was their eyes and brought them joy, and for those who could not walk, I was feet, and thus their joy. I was a tongue for those who could not speak, and thus I brought them joy. To those in fear of death, I granted immortality, and thus I was their joy. I led the dying on the path of transference and brought them joy. To those who wandered in the bardo state, I was their spirit guide, bringing them to joy. I cooled the burning heat and warmed the cold of those lost in the realms of hell. Howsoever they were tortured, I changed myself to shield them, being thus their joy. To those who lingered in the land of hungry ghosts, I was their food and drink, and thus their joy. I was freedom from oppression and servitude for those caught in the wordless state of beasts, and thus I brought them joy. Those beings born in places of war, I protected them from strife and brought them joy. I was a truce from endless conflict for the demigods, and was thus their joy. The jealous gods I guarded from their bitter fall, and I was thus their joy. I shielded all from everything that tortured them, and was their every joy. And now 108 recitations of Om Mani Padme Hum for Guan Yin, for all beings to have that supreme truth arise within, the truth of our fundamentally enlightened nature. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. 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 And let's give thanks for our teachers. May all of my blessed teachers enjoy long, happy, healthy, productive lives and great support for their good works. May all beings benefit from their wisdom. May they enjoy a swift and happy rebirth. And long life prayer for Lama Dechen Yeshe Wangmo. Sosti. Through the powerful blessings of the immortal Pema Jungye and his consort, May the three secret qualities of the Dakini of supreme bliss, Yeshe Wangmo, be utterly stable, and may the light of her activities shine on the lotus groves of the teachings and of beings, so that they blossom in radiant splendor. And let's dedicate the merit. May the merit of this practice and all of my activities be of endless benefit to all beings in all realms, beginningless and continuous. May all obstacles be overcome and suffering cease at the sound of liberation. May all beings be free from suffering and its causes. May all beings have happiness and its causes. May we carry the essence of Guanyin in our hearts. Namo Guanxian Pusa. And we close with a bow to Guanyin and Tara, bow to one another, and a bow to the inner teacher. And wishing everyone a really good day. If you chanted along with me, please leave a comment with your counts in the comments so that I can add them to our overall count. I hope everyone has a really good Wednesday and stamp down those waves of trauma that threaten to reverberate and hurt you. They do not have to. You can call on Tara and she will help you. Let's all do that today, wherever we're carrying any wounding. Okay, be back tomorrow. Bye.